The massive alien ship appeared without warning, its dark hull blocking out the stars as it positioned itself just beyond lunar orbit. Earth's military installations worldwide went into immediate high alert, but no weapons were fired. Not yet. Inside the United Earth Defense Council chamber in Geneva, Admiral James Stone stood at the central podium, his weathered face illuminated by the holographic display showing the alien vessel. His gray hair and battle-scarred face told the story of a man who had seen his share of conflicts on Earth. Now, humanity faced something entirely different. The message was clear. He said to the assembled council members, "Submit to the Galactic Concordat, or face annihilation. They'd given us 24 hours to respond." His voice remained steady, but there was steel in his tone. The council chamber erupted in heated discussion. Representatives from every major nation on Earth argued about the best course of action. Some advocated for immediate surrender, citing the advanced technology displayed by the alien ship. Others called for an instant military response. Admiral Stone waited patiently. He had spent the last 15 years preparing for this very moment. When the room finally quieted, he pressed a button on his podium. The holographic display changed, showing Earth's hidden defense network. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, while the world watched cat videos and argued about social media, "we were building. When observers spotted unusual activity near Jupiter, we accelerated our plans. When our deep space probes detected quantum communications beyond Pluto, we knew we weren't alone." The display showed massive shipyards hidden on the dark side of the moon, orbital defense platforms disguised as communication satellites, weapon systems integrated into asteroid mining operations. "We have 5,000 ships ready for combat," Stone continued. "Another 10,000 automated drone fighters. Our quantum computers can match or exceed their communication systems. We've reversed engineered enough from the scout ship that crashed in the Atacama Desert 3 years ago to understand their basic technology." The council members sat in stunned silence. Most of them had been unaware of the true scale of Earth's military preparations. Through the massive windows of the council chamber, the alien ship was visible as a dark spot against the afternoon sky. Its size was meant to intimidate. Instead, it had united humanity like never before. "The Concordat believes we are primitive," Stone said, allowing himself a small smile. "They expect us to either surrender immediately or respond with crude nuclear weapons. They don't know that we've been watching them. Learning. Preparing." General Martinez, the South American representative, stood up. "What are our chances, Admiral?" "Better than they think," Stone replied. "Their empire spans 300 species across thousands of worlds, but they've grown complacent. Their technology has stagnated. They haven't fought a real war in over 500 years. Meanwhile, humanity." He paused, looking around the room. "We've been fighting ourselves for millennia. We've developed strategies, counter-strategies, and ways of thinking they couldn't imagine." The room was silent as the implications sank in. Humanity might be younger and less technologically advanced, but they understood warfare in ways the Concordat had forgotten. "I say we respond now," Stone concluded. "Not with words, but with action. Our fleet is positioned behind Mars, out of their sensor range. One word from this council, and we show them exactly what humanity is capable of." The vote was unanimous. Humanity would not bow, would not surrender, would not negotiate. As the alien diplomats waited in their ship, expecting either surrender terms or desperate pleas for mercy, they received instead a simple message: no. They were still puzzled by the brevity of the response when the first wave of Earth's ships emerged from behind Mars. The space around Earth lit up with weapons fire, and the Concordat learned their first lesson about humanity. "We don't negotiate with empires." In his command center, Admiral Stone watched the battle unfold. The alien ship, caught completely off guard, barely managed to raise its shields before the first hits landed. As he observed their panicked retreat, Stone knew this was only the beginning. The Concordat would return with more ships, more weapons, more determination. But humanity would be ready. They always were. The war for Earth's independence had begun, and the Galactic Concordat was about to learn why humans were the most feared warriors in their own history. 3 days after Earth's defiant response, the Concordat returned. Their punitive fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel near Jupiter, 50 warships strong. To them, it was a small force meant to teach a lesson. To humanity, it was exactly what they had expected. Commander Thomas stood on the bridge of the EDF Defender, his hands clasped behind his back as he watched the enemy fleet approach through the main viewport. His ship, along with 100 others, waited in the shadow of Mars. The red planet's magnetic field and special human-developed stealth systems kept them hidden from alien sensors. "They're taking their time," his second-in-command, Officer Wilson, noted, moving in perfect formation. Thomas smiled. "Of course they are. They've forgotten what real combat is like. They think this is a parade." The Concordat fleet moved with mechanical precision, their massive ships arranged in textbook formation. Each vessel was the size of a small city, bristling with weapons that could level continents. They had used these same tactics to conquer hundreds of worlds. But Earth was different. "All ships, execute Battle Plan Thunder," Thomas ordered through the fleet-wide channel. His words triggered a sequence of events that would change galactic history. From behind every major moon and asteroid in the solar system, human ships emerged. Not the big, clumsy warships the Concordat expected, but swarms of smaller, faster vessels. Each human ship was only a fraction of the size of a Concordat warship, but there were thousands of them. The alien fleet froze in confusion. Their sensors, designed to track large capital ships, struggled to lock onto the smaller human vessels. Before they could adapt, the first wave of automated drone fighters struck. "Launch the mines," Thomas commanded. Space around the Concordat fleet erupted as thousands of cloaked space mines activated. The alien shields flared bright blue, struggling against weapons they hadn't even known were there. "Sir," Wilson reported, excitement in his voice, "their formation is breaking." The perfect alien battle line shattered as ships tried to evade the mines. This was exactly what Thomas had been waiting for. "All ships, commence Operation Hornet's Nest." Human vessels attacked from every direction, moving in patterns that seemed chaotic, but were actually carefully planned. While each alien ship could probably destroy dozens of human vessels, they couldn't hit what they couldn't target. And humanity's ships were too many, too fast, and too unpredictable. "Their flagship is signaling," the communications officer announced. They're demanding we fight properly." Laughter rippled across the bridge. The Concordat actually expected humans to line up their ships and fight in organized formations, like some ancient naval battle. "Send them our response," Thomas ordered. "Full attack pattern Delta." Another wave of drone fighters swept through the alien fleet. These weren't meant to destroy, but to confuse and distract. Meanwhile, the larger human ships moved into position for the killing blow. The Concordat admiral watched in horror as his perfect fleet fell into chaos. 3 of his largest ships were already heavily damaged, their crews never expecting an attack from such primitive beings. Their weapons, designed to battle at long range, proved nearly useless against opponents that got too close. "Sir," Wilson called out, "enemy ships are attempting to retreat. Should we pursue?" Thomas shook his head. "Let them go. They need to report back to their leaders. Let them explain how their simple punishment mission turned into a disaster." The battle lasted less than an hour. When it was over, 28 Concordat ships had been destroyed or disabled. The remaining 22 limped back toward their territory, their once proud formation now a scattered retreat. Human casualties were minimal, mostly drone fighters, which could be easily replaced. More importantly, humanity had learned valuable lessons about Concordat technology and tactics. In the aftermath, Thomas addressed his fleet. "Today, we showed them that humanity doesn't just resist. We win." They thought they were coming to punish a primitive species. Instead, they learned that Earth has teeth. As debris from destroyed Concordat ships drifted through space, the message was clear. The Galactic Concordat had made a serious mistake. They had expected an easy victory over a young species. What they got instead was a preview of their own destruction. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy why Earth had never been successfully conquered. 1 month after their humiliating defeat, the Concordat returned with their main battle fleet. 500 massive warships filled the space between Jupiter and Mars, their hulls gleaming under the distant sunlight. This time, they weren't here to punish. They were here to conquer. In the Asteroid Belt Command Center, Admiral Stone watched the enemy fleet's approach on the main screen. Next to him, Commander Thomas studied the tactical display with focused intensity. "This is their pride and joy," Stone said, pointing to the massive flagship in the center of the alien formation. The Starhammer, 10 kilometers long, never been defeated in battle. Thomas nodded. "First time for everything, sir." The Concordat had learned from their last defeat. Their ships now carried special sensors to track smaller vessels. Their weapons had been adjusted to target faster-moving ships. They thought they were ready for human tactics. They were wrong. "Begin Operation Mountain Mover," Stone ordered. Deep in the asteroid belt, hundreds of hidden engines activated. What the Concordat had dismissed as simple space rocks began to move. For years, humanity had been installing engines and control systems in thousands of asteroids, turning them into the biggest weapons in human history. The alien fleet detected the movement too late. Their sensors showed hundreds of asteroids, ranging from the size of small buildings to massive rocks kilometers wide, all accelerating toward their position. "Excellent," Stone said as he watched the alien fleet break formation. "Now for Phase 2. Commander Thomas, you have the honor." Thomas pressed a button on his console. Throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of hidden hangar doors opened. The automated mining ships emerged, each one modified for war. These weren't the sleek fighters from the last battle. These were heavy industrial machines, built to tear through rock and now ready to tear through alien ships. "The mining fleet is away," Thomas reported, moving to surround the enemy. The Concordat fleet found itself caught in a deadly trap. To one side, waves of accelerating asteroids threatened to smash their ships to pieces. To the other, swarms of mining vessels approached, their industrial cutting beams replaced with weapons that could slice through warship armor. "Sir," a junior officer called out, "the Starhammer is transmitting. They're asking how a primitive species like us managed this level of industry in space." Stone laughed. "Tell them we've had lots of practice. We've been preparing our solar system for war since we first reached space. Send them our complete mining operation records. Let them see just how primitive we are." The battle that followed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human mining ships darted between enemy vessels, their industrial cutting tools proving devastatingly effective against military armor. Asteroids, guided by simple but effective engines, smashed through alien formations. The Starhammer tried to coordinate a defense, but they had never faced an enemy that turned an entire asteroid belt into a weapon. Their mighty weapons were designed to destroy ships, not mountains of rock hurtling through space. "Their right flank is collapsing," Thomas reported with satisfaction. "The mining ships have breached their defensive line in 3 places." Stone watched as the mighty Concordat fleet began to break apart. Some ships tried to retreat, only to find their escape routes blocked by more asteroids. Others attempted to stand and fight, only to be swarmed by mining vessels that cut through their hulls with industrial efficiency. The Starhammer itself lasted longer than most. Its massive weapons destroyed dozens of asteroids and scores of mining ships. But in the end, even it couldn't withstand the combined assault of humanity's industrial might. 3 hours after the battle began, the space around the asteroid belt was filled with the broken remains of the Concordat's main battle fleet. The Starhammer, pride of their navy, drifted powerless, its hull breached in multiple places by mining lasers and asteroid impacts. Send word to Earth, Stone ordered. Tell them the asteroid belt is secure. And send a message to the Concordat. Tell them this is what happens when they threaten our home. As the reports came in, the final tally was clear. 312 Concordat ships destroyed. The rest had either surrendered or managed to retreat. Humanity had lost many mining ships and asteroids, but all could be replaced. The Galactic Concordat had just learned another harsh lesson. Humans don't just fight with weapons. They fight with everything they have. The war had reached a new phase. After their devastating losses in the Sol system, the Concordat expected humanity to stay defensive. Instead, they found human forces appearing deep within their territory, striking from shadows they didn't even know existed. Captain Roberts sat in a dark room on the Concordat capital world, surrounded by holographic displays showing enemy communications. His small team of infiltrators had spent 3 weeks hiding in the maintenance tunnels of the massive alien city, preparing for this moment. Their entire security network runs through these servers, he whispered to his team. Just like we thought. They never expected anyone to physically break into their systems. They rely too much on their advanced technology. Officer Baker, their computer specialist, plugged a small device into the alien network. They haven't updated their security in over a century. No one's ever challenged them before. Across the galaxy, similar teams were in place on 50 different Concordat worlds. They had smuggled themselves in using captured merchant ships, hidden in cargo containers, and even posed as maintenance robots. The aliens never imagined that a primitive species would be capable of such detailed infiltration. Signal from command, Baker reported quietly. Operation Ghost is go. Roberts nodded. Upload the virus. The human virus was unlike anything the Concordat had seen before. While they focused on quantum encryption and advanced AI barriers, humanity had created something much simpler and much more effective. The virus spread through their systems like wildfire, using their own overconfident security against them. In orbit above the capital, Concordat ships suddenly lost contact with their command centers. On the ground, security systems went dark. Communication networks began broadcasting human messages on all frequencies. Your empire is built on fear, the messages said in every known alien language. But we are not afraid. Look how easily we walk among you. The Concordat's leadership was thrown into chaos. Reports came in from across their territory. Human strike teams appearing out of nowhere, attacking key facilities and vanishing again. Their mighty fleets found themselves grounded, unable to trust their own navigation systems. Phase 2, Roberts ordered. Release the data. Baker pressed another button. Across the Concordat's networks, proof of their leadership's corruption began to spread. Secret documents showing how they had rigged trade agreements. Evidence of how they had suppressed technological advancement in conquered species. Records of their plans to exploit and control their own allies. Sir, one of the team members reported, we're picking up transmissions from at least 30 slave worlds. They're rising up against their Concordat overlords. Roberts allowed himself a small smile. This was what humans did best, not just fighting battles, but changing the very nature of the war. The Concordat had expected ships and soldiers. Instead, they got spies, hackers, and revolutionaries. Movement outside, Baker warned. Security forces are sweeping the building. Perfect timing, Roberts replied. Pack up. Our part here is done. As his team quickly gathered their equipment, Roberts looked at the chaos spreading across the enemy's capital city through their security feeds. Already, subject species were taking to the streets, demanding freedom. The Concordat's own citizens were calling for answers about the corruptions revealed in the leaked documents. Transport is in position, Baker reported. Sewage maintenance tunnel leads right to them. Roberts took one last look at the displays. The Concordat's mighty empire was tearing itself apart from the inside, and they never saw it coming. They had expected humans to fight like everyone else, with ships and guns and proper military tactics. Instead, humanity had brought revolution. As his team made their escape through the underground tunnels, Roberts could hear the sound of protests growing above. Their mission was complete, but the real damage was just beginning. The Concordat would never recover from this blow. Not the lost data, not the exposed secrets, and especially not the loss of fear they had used to control their empire. Command, this is Ghost Team 1. Roberts transmitted as they reached their hidden ship. Mission accomplished. The Empire's house of cards is falling. They finally learned that humans don't just fight wars. We changed the rules of the game entirely. Above them, the night sky was filled with the light of fires and protests, as centuries of Concordat control began to crumble. The Empire was learning its hardest lesson yet. Never underestimate humanity's ability to turn your own strength into your greatest weakness. With the Concordat thrown into chaos by Earth's infiltration teams, Admiral Stone knew it was time for humanity's boldest move yet. The combined Earth fleet, now strengthened by 6 months of war production, gathered at the edge of human space. 3,000 ships. General Torres reported from her command station on the flagship Freedom, plus another 5,000 automated vessels, all crews ready and eager to strike. Admiral Stone studied the massive holographic display showing their fleet. The ships were smaller than Concordat vessels, but there were many more of them. Quantity, as Earth had learned, had a quality all its own. The Concordat still controls 70 major systems, Stone said to his assembled commanders. They're struggling with internal rebellions, but they're still dangerous. Like a wounded animal, maybe even more dangerous than before. The plan was simple but bold. While the Concordat dealt with revolts on their worlds, humanity would strike at their military bases, not one at a time, but all at once. It was a strategy that the aliens, with their rigid thinking, would never expect. All ships, battle positions, Stone ordered. The human fleet split into 30 groups, each targeting different Concordat military installations. Remember, we're not here to destroy their worlds. We're here to break their ability to make war. The fleet jumped into faster-than-light travel. Humanity had learned this technology from studying captured Concordat ships, but they had improved it. Their ships could jump more precisely, closer to their targets. Another advantage the overconfident aliens had never thought to develop. At exactly the same moment, human fleets appeared in 30 different systems. The Concordat's remaining forces found themselves under attack everywhere at once. First reports coming in, Torres announced. Battle Group 7 has taken the shipyards in the Rigel sector. Battle Group 12 has destroyed the missile factories in the Vega system. Stone watched as green lights appeared on his display, showing victory after victory. The Concordat's remaining ships fought hard, but they were scattered, disorganized, and outnumbered. They had never imagined having to defend everywhere at once. "Sir," an officer called out, "the Concordat's third fleet is approaching our position. 500 ships." Stone smiled. This was exactly what he had expected. Spring the trap. As the Concordat fleet approached, they found themselves caught between two forces. In front of them, Stone's fleet waited in attack formation. Behind them, seemingly out of nowhere, appeared another human battle group that had been hiding behind a nearby gas giant. "Look at them," Torres said, watching the enemy ships try to regroup. "They still think we'll fight fair." The battle that followed was short but fierce. Human ships darted between the larger Concordat vessels, their weapons precisely targeting engines and weapon systems. The automated drones flew suicide runs, ramming into vital systems on enemy ships. "Their admiral is sending a message," communications reported. He's asking why we won't engage in proper ship-to-ship combat." Laughter rippled across the bridge. Even now, the Concordat couldn't understand that humans would use every advantage, every trick, every unexpected strategy to win. "Tell him," Stone ordered, "that humans wrote the book on warfare long before we reached the stars. We're just applying those lessons to space." Within hours, the Concordat's third fleet was reduced to floating wreckage. Similar reports came in from across their territory. In a single day, humanity had destroyed or captured nearly half of the Empire's remaining military might. Final reports coming in, Torres announced proudly. 28 of 30 targets successfully captured or destroyed. The other 2 were evacuated before we could strike. Total human casualties: minimal. Stone nodded with satisfaction. The Concordat had lost not just ships and bases, but also their reputation for invincibility. Across their empire, subject species watched as human forces tore through the defenses that had kept them enslaved for centuries. Send word to Earth, Stone ordered. The Great Push was successful. The Concordat's military backbone is broken. He paused, looking at the battlefield debris floating past his ship. And send a message to any remaining Concordat forces: surrender now or face the same fate. The message was clear. Humanity wasn't just fighting back. They were systematically dismantling an empire that had stood for thousands of years. The galaxy was learning that when humans went to war, they didn't stop until victory was absolute. The great meeting hall on the liberated world of Nova Prime was packed with representatives from 20 different alien species. These were races that had suffered under Concordat rule for centuries. Now they watched as Director Walsh of Earth's diplomatic corps stood before them. Humanity offers you more than just freedom, Walsh said, his voice carrying across the hall. We offer you the chance to fight back, to take revenge, to make sure the Concordat can never threaten anyone again. In the back of the room, Commander Thomas watched the gathering with interest. 6 months ago, these species had been slaves. Now they were potential allies. It was amazing what a few human-led victories could do for morale. An alien delegate stood up. His species, the Krell, had been mechanics and engineers for the Concordat for 300 years. You've shown us the Concordat can be beaten. But how can we fight? We have no weapons, no ships. Walsh smiled. That's why we're here. Earth is ready to provide training, weapons, and ships to any species willing to join the fight. We'll teach you everything we know about warfare. The hall erupted in excited discussion. The Concordat had kept these species from developing military technology, forcing them to stay weak and dependent. Now, humans were offering them the tools and knowledge to fight back. Look at them, Thomas said quietly to his security team. The Concordat thought keeping them weak would keep them loyal. Instead, they just created the perfect army of rebels. In the following weeks, training camps were set up across liberated space. Human military advisors taught former slave species everything from basic combat to advanced tactics. The aliens learned quickly. They had centuries of anger driving them. At a training base on Nova Prime's largest moon, Thomas watched as former servants and laborers learned to operate combat ships. They took to it naturally, especially after humans showed them how to modify their old work skills for warfare. The Krell engineering teams are especially impressive, his aide reported. They've already improved some of our ship designs. Turns out centuries of maintaining Concordat vessels taught them a lot about weaknesses in alien technology. Thomas nodded. The Concordat's greatest mistake was thinking they could keep knowledge and power to themselves forever. They never understood that oppression breeds innovation in its victims. Reports came in from across former Concordat space. Former slave species were rising up everywhere, using human weapons and tactics. The Concordat found itself fighting enemies they had never considered a threat. The Krell, once mere mechanics, now led strike teams that could disable Concordat ships with terrifying efficiency. The Vex, former servants, used their knowledge of Concordat buildings to infiltrate and sabotage from within. Every species brought its own unique skills to the fight. Message from the front lines, an officer reported to Thomas. The combined alien-human fleet just took 3 more systems. The Concordat never expected their former slaves to fight so effectively. In the main command center, Director Walsh watched as more and more former Concordat territories declared independence. The empire that had stood for thousands of years was collapsing in months. This is humanity's real strength, Walsh told his staff. Not just fighting wars, but teaching others to fight for themselves. We're not creating an empire. We're destroying one forever. The Concordat's remaining leaders were shocked. They had expected to fight humans. Instead, they found themselves facing an alliance of every species they had ever oppressed, all trained and armed by Earth. Thomas received the latest battle reports with satisfaction. Another Concordat fleet surrendered to the rebel forces. Their crews are joining our side. They say they'd rather fight for freedom than die for a dying empire. Human weapons, human tactics, and human training had turned former slaves into warriors. But more importantly, humanity had given them something the Concordat never could: hope. Send word to Earth, Walsh ordered. Tell them Phase 6 is complete. The revolution has spread beyond our control, exactly as planned. The Concordat isn't just fighting humans anymore. They're fighting everyone they ever wronged. The galaxy was learning its final lesson about humanity. We don't just defeat our enemies. We change the very rules they lived by. The final battle for the Concordat's capital system began at dawn, Earth time. The combined fleet of human and liberated alien ships filled the space around the system's outer planets. It was the largest gathering of military force the galaxy had ever seen. Admiral Stone stood on the bridge of the flagship Freedom, now scarred from countless battles. Beside him, representatives from 20 former slave species waited for his command. This was their moment too, their chance to end their oppressors forever. The Concordat has gathered everything they have left, Stone announced to the fleet. 300 capital ships. Their last stand will be here, defending their throne world. Through the main viewport, they could see the Concordat's remaining fleet arranged in a defensive formation around their capital planet. The magnificent city-sized space stations that had once shown their power now served as their last fortresses. All ships report ready, Commander Thomas said from his tactical station. Human forces, rebel fleets, and our automated units are in position. The Krell engineering teams have disabled their early warning systems. The Vex infiltrators are in place within their stations. Stone nodded. This was what humanity had planned for, not just a military victory, but a complete dismantling of an empire. Send the message, he ordered. The communication went out on all frequencies, in all languages. Attention Concordat forces. This is your final chance to surrender. Your empire is finished. Your slaves are now warriors. Your power is broken. The response came quickly from the Grand Arbiter himself, the supreme leader of the Concordat. His hologram appeared on the bridge, still trying to look powerful despite leading a dying empire. You primitive humans, the Arbiter spat. You've destroyed thousands of years of peace and order. You've turned our servants against us. And for what? Because you wouldn't accept your proper place in the galaxy. Stone smiled. No, because we showed the galaxy that no species has to accept slavery, that everyone deserves freedom, that your peace and order was just another word for tyranny. All ships, Stone commanded as the Arbiter's image faded, begin the attack. Operation Final Dawn is go. The battle that followed would be written about in history books across 1,000 worlds. Human ships led the charge, using the tactics that had won them victory after victory. Behind them came the liberation fleets, former slaves now fighting with all the fury of centuries of oppression. The Concordat fought desperately, but they were facing enemies who had learned all their weaknesses. Krell strike teams disabled their flagship's engines. Vex saboteurs opened defense screens from within. Human ships struck at every weak point they had discovered throughout the war. Their center is breaking, Thomas reported. The Arbiter's flagship is trying to escape. Not this time, Stone said firmly. All ships, focus fire. No one escapes today. The Arbiter's mighty vessel, once the symbol of Concordat power, erupted in flames as concentrated fire from a dozen different species struck it simultaneously. The remaining Concordat ships, seeing their leader fall, began signaling their surrender. As the fighting ended, Stone looked out at the debris-strewn battlefield. Send teams to secure their capital. Make sure everyone knows. We're here as liberators, not conquerors. In the days that followed, representatives from every free species gathered on the Concordat throne world. The great hall that had once housed their oppressors now hosted the first meeting of the Galactic Coalition, a new alliance based on freedom and mutual respect. Director Walsh, speaking for Earth, stood before the gathered species. Humanity never wanted an empire. We wanted to show the galaxy that tyranny can be beaten, that the strong don't have the right to enslave the weak, that together we can build something better than the Concordat ever imagined. Admiral Stone, watching from the side, felt pride not just in humanity's victory, but in what they had achieved. They had not just defeated an empire, they had helped create a free galaxy. Send the final message to Earth, he ordered. Tell them it's done. The war is over. The galaxy is free. The stars looked different now, Stone thought. They no longer represented the Concordat's infinite reach. Now they stood for infinite possibility, for a future where no species would ever again bow to tyranny. The galaxy had learned its final lesson. Humanity doesn't just win wars. We change worlds for the better.